What is the scariest / creepiest theory you know about? If the human body senses trauma it is unable to combat, it will switch off metabolism, pump endorphins, and slip into a pain-free dissociative state. In essence, shutting down. It's been seen in air crashes and lots of places really. Basically your body can switch itself off. Don't some prey animals do this when they are caught? That's why they seem so unfazed about being eaten. I'm sure I've read something about rabbits not being likely to survive an encounter with a predator, even if they escape cause their body is just pumped with so much shit they have a heart attack anyway. It was on Reddit somewhere I saw it, so who knows how legit it is. During the Challenger accident from 1986, whenever the shuttle exploded, the ground crews had the astronauts' EKGs and vital scans. After the explosion, the astronauts were still alive. Theory has it that they were cognizant the entire time until they crashed in the ocean. This is what actually happened. NASA never wanted to admit that the astronauts didn't die in the explosion, but there is a major probability that they were not conscious when they crashed into the ocean. Cosmology can be disturbing. For instance, I recently learned of dead-end trips. There are some destinations that you shouldn't try for. It's possible to travel so far away from where you started that the expansion of the universe will exceed the speed you were traveling at. You can't return home because home is receding faster than you can travel. You can't reach your destination because it too is receding faster than you can travel. You can no longer get anywhere, only get further away from everything. You cannot reach any destination, even if you travel forever. Yes. This is because the universe is constantly expanding, and galaxies, neighborhoods, clusters, etc. are gravity bound. They stick together in distant clumps, while other clumps move away. It's kind of like people in cars on a highway. You will remain a constant difference from however many people are in your car, or on your motorcycle, or in your school bus, but you will get further and further away from other vehicles. This means that if you are within a pocket that's bound by gravity, you'll always be an equal distance from everything else. But if you fall out of that car, you're not getting back in it, and you're almost certainly never getting into any other car either. This reminds me of those dreams when you're trying to run, but you can only move slowly. I find number stations to be pretty creepy. Link: youtube.com/watch v=AIH7CG3MIO. Their purpose is technically a theory, as the groups that broadcast them won't officially confirm even their existence for the most part. Essentially, spying is still a very real thing for most world governments. One of the most foolproof ways of delivering a coded message is through a one-time code, a code used just once before being discarded. Your spy has the key, you have the message, and once the key is used it is discarded, and the next message is sent using a different key. Additionally, shortwave radio is an extremely secure way of sending these messages. It sounds weird that a radio station anyone with a shortwave radio can listen to would be considered secure, but the beauty of the method is that shortwave radios are ubiquitous. Cheap technology throughout most of the world. What looks more suspicious, a person traveling with a radio, or a person traveling with a sophisticated computer or satellite phone? While the signal can be received by anyone, it leaves no record of who received it and can't be intercepted and traced by a middleman. They don't care if you listen, because the stream of numbers is nothing without the code, and because you're using a one-time code, it can't be cracked as it's randomly generated and used once. The only time a one-time code has ever been broken was an instance where the code was reused. So your spy just tunes into the radio at a specific time on a specific day, writes down the numbers, decodes the message, discards the key, and no one is any the wiser. Most stations are identified by a call sign or little jingle, and these can range from kind of cute and cheerful link, youtube.com/watch v=AIH7CG3MIO, to pretty eerie sounding link, youtube.com/watch v=4NGNWCUGHSG. If you listen infrequently, you'll hear messages repeated over and over until one day they change up. It's believed they'll repeat the message until their spy can communicate they've received it. Essentially, if you have a shortwave radio, You can listen in on highly secret spy communications from countries all over the world. You can also listen in on countries jamming the communication, either by broadcasting state radio on the same signal, or trying to jam it with noise or static. You'd think the frequency of these transmissions would have gone down after the Cold War, but they are still going strong. The very first number stations appeared in the very early days of radio, during World War I. I find it fascinating, but also super creepy, that all of this secret communication is happening right out in the open, for us to tune into at any time, without any way of knowing who it is intended for, or what is being transmitted. The Dark Forest Theory. This explains the Fermi paradox, why we haven't seen any other advanced life forms despite the vastness of the universe. Other advanced life forms don't send out signals into the rest of the universe because they're worried that something more advanced and dangerous is going to find them first. There's another idea that other civilizations know there's something out there but don't send any signals because it has no reason to not appear at the entire planet. There's a science fiction book based on this, and I think this quote explains it better than I can. The universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path, and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful, because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him. If he finds another life, another hunter, angel, or a demon, a delicate infant, a tottering old man, a fairy or demigod, there's only one thing he can do: open fire and eliminate them. That humans almost went extinct 70,000 years ago, a volcano in Indonesia erupted. There's theories that we have a genetic bottleneck around that time. Took our population down to 10,00023,000, like the size of one small town. Lots of fresh genetic material died with those who were lost, and the resulting inbreeding could have resulted in some genetic diseases that have made their way into humans today. Without this event, we may have advanced faster and be healthier people today. Edit. Link. M. Wikipedia. org/wik/tobiac_cathobigenec_THELENECK_IN_HUMANS. Edit 2. Thank you for the awards. When I went to sleep this had 5 upvotes and now it's 10k. I'm glad that so many people found this interesting. I'd like to clarify that this is a theory, a hypothesis supported by a collection of facts. The theory is not fact and truth in itself, so don't take it that way. I have gotten a lot of messages where people think that I'm spreading falsehoods about this, and I want to address that there is counter evidence against the volcano causing a genetic bottleneck. There is still evidence of the genetic bottleneck and the recent and abrupt diversification of humanity. Most of the research that I've seen on this comes from 2000. It's been 20 years, so there has been lots of work done on this very topic in the time since. The point is, don't take it as fact. The thread asked for scary theories, and I provided a scary theory, not fact. For more information and supporting evidence that human beings diversified recently, we can look at stories like Cheddar Man Link, bbc.com/news/science environment 42,939,192. A dark-skinned, blue-eyed man that lived around 10,000 years ago in England. I have also been getting a lot of questions about if we have genetically improved as a species from this. The short answer is I don't know, and I don't think anyone does. I think it's unlikely, as I've never heard of a population bottleneck going well. Pain does not equal gain, and survival of the fittest hasn't really applied to people for a long time, and for a variety of reasons. We tend to protect others that are weak, because those that are different have still purpose and use to the community. We care about each other and want to see everyone succeed. This line of thinking, that we must have become stronger from such a critical state, seems far too close to eugenics. A lot of comments bringing up the Fermi paradox to explain the lack of evidence of extraterrestrial life, when by all accounts we should be seeing alien life all over the universe. Here's another unsettling explanation. If you're scuba diving above a coral reef and you know that there should be fish all around you, but you don't see any. It's most likely that they have learned that for some reason it's important not to be seen. And since you're a newcomer to this environment, chances are it's not you they are hiding from. Edit. The number of scuba divers saying they've experienced this and then noticed a shark nearby is alarming. This is one I had a couple days ago watching this video about Carl Sagan explaining the fourth dimension link. B/N0WJV 6mm SIM. The gist is, if we all existed in 2 dimensions we could only see or record events that happen in 2 dimensions. So if there were things in the 4th dimension we could never see, or even imagine them. Imagine a 4th direction to move in. Carl Sagan explains it beautifully, as if we were on a piece of paper. We could only see the cross-section of anything that passes through our world. The theory that scented candles starting getting poor reviews at the same time COVID hit the US makes you wonder how many people have mild COVID before we even knew about it. Pairing the lack of taste and or smell as one of the main symptoms associated with mild COVID cases. The one that bugs me was the one about the guy who was last seen in an airport. There's video of him just wigging the duck out and running away at full speed. They linked the surveillance footage and you can see him run all the way off the premises. He was never seen again. There's lots of theories about what happened. None I wanna look too far into. Bulgaria wasn't it? Completely freaked out and ran through the front door into the woodlands. Makes me think of the Asian lady who was recorded acting strange/freaking out on a hotel's elevator cam. Later she was found in the water tank on top of said hotel and no one knows how she died or why she was in that water tank. Telling this story makes me feel uncomfortable, even today, so I will tell it here. I don't know how much this story fits into this thread, but I've never had a platform that seemed appropriate to share it. So here we go. When I was 14 years ago, I moved from Iowa to Boulder, Colorado with my best friend Corey. We moved there during the month of August, and shortly thereafter I got a phone call from a number one didn't know. I answered it, and it turned out to be this girl that had attended the same high school as us. Ashley. Ashley had heard that Corey and I had just moved to Boulder, and she was calling because she, too, had just moved to Boulder to attend Cubic. She wanted to know if we wanted to get together sometime and hang out/party. Ashley was a couple years younger than us, and we didn't run in the same crowds, so we didn't hang out much. But I remember her coming over to our apartment to smoke and chill once. Then I remember asking her to get us weed. She did. She came with us to a party once, and I also remember us asking her for weed a second time, and her texting me back saying you guys just message me when you want weed. So no. After that I don't think we talked to her again. Fast forward 3 to 4 years. Corey and I are living back in Iowa. One night, I was out with a couple of people I'd gone to high school with, and we went to this dive bar called Thumbs. In the back of Thumbs there is a single pool table, which is where my group went because we had planned on playing. We got to the pool table, and there's Ashley, racking a set of pool balls. I was super surprised to see her there, so I walked right up to her and said something like, "Ashley, long time no see. What are you doing here? Did you move back from Boulder?" Apostrophe. Ashley just stared at me for a second and then said, "What?" Apostrophe. So I repeat myself and say, "Did you move back from Colorado? I haven't seen you since we hung out in Boulder." She looked truly confused, and then she said, "What are you talking about? I never lived in Boulder." At this point I thought she was ducking with me because I specifically remembered hanging out with her more than once. So I laughed and was like, "You're ducking with me, right?" She shook her head no, and one of the girls I was with, who knew both of us, actually overheard it and butted in to confirm that Ashley had lived in our hometown the whole time. I completely dropped the subject to save face, but the experience was so unsettling that I made a beeline for the front door. I walked out onto the sidewalk, pulled my phone out of my pocket, and called Corey. I said, "Corey, do you remember when we lived together in Boulder and Ashley came over and hung out with us?" And Corey said, "No man. That never happened. He was my best friend, so I knew he wasn't ducking with me. Plus there was a 0% chance he and Ashley had ever talked to set something like this up. When I pressed the issue, he insisted that no, one we had gone to high school with had ever moved out to Boulder, and that we certainly hadn't hung out with them since then. I've brought this up to Corey several times and his position has never changed. To this day, I don't know what happened. I specifically remember hanging out with her. She wore a tie-dye t-shirt when she came over the first time, and we hung out with her multiple times. I remember it so clearly. I still have those memories, but apparently they never happened. Even though the timeline matches exactly, she would have graduated high school that year and moved to Colorado in August for school. I know that the human memory is super unreliable, and I'm sure that's all this is. But that doesn't change that I'm absolutely 100% ducking sure that this happened. 14 years later, and I still stand by my story, wrong as it may be. The Vela Incident. September 1979. A US Vela satellite detected a double flash of light over an area of the ocean between South Africa and Antarctica. The prior 41 double flashes observed by the satellite were from nuclear explosions, as this is what they were designed to observe. There also happened to be a typhoon happening in the area at the time, so it seemed like someone wanted to detonate it without being caught. Carter administration reported that it was a natural occurrence due to a small meteorite hitting the satellite. However, many other independent sources and even other countries have reported that they did indeed find traces of fallout and radiation. Because of the geopolitical climate of the times, there's very strong evidence that it was in fact a joint nuclear weapon test carried out by South Africa and Israel, and the US scrubbed the information regarding it because they didn't want to paint their allies in Israel in a bad light for working with apartheid-era South Africa. Strangely enough, Israel and South Africa have never denied having nuclear weapons programs, nor have they ever denied a joint test being responsible for the Vela incident. That mind control actually exists. It's something that would never go public because whoever was able to perfect it first would be in the position to use it on whoever is aware of its existence. The great power of social media is they discovered they didn't have to control anyone's mind. They just put people in a bubble of misinformation until they make their own mind up. More of a story than a theory, but it correlates to some of these and makes me think some could be real. When I was younger, I had this little stuffed animal dog guy named Rocky. One night, my younger sisters and I, who all slept in the same room so we could hang out together, were messing around, and I two-handed overhead tossed Rocky into the wall directly in front of my bed. He hit the wall, slid down behind whatever was in front of my bed, and was never seen again. I immediately went to go get him, and he just wasn't anywhere. We tore the whole entire small room apart. We all saw the event occur. Over time, the room has been completely emptied out. Everything in it rearranged. Walls painted. Everything, and no Rocky. He just completely phased out of existence. Makes me think he glitched out of the system or something. There's always that lingering doubt, isn't there? Still, from watching my own kids, most likely explication is that a bunch of kids just couldn't find it. You never say how old you are, but my young children have trouble finding things in the open sometimes. Then a parent found it, not realizing you lost it. They moved it and it eventually got stored / thrown away somewhere outside the room because they weren't privy to what happened. But since we don't know and can't prove anything, we'll never be able to truly eliminate the possibility that it just snapped out of reality. We used to have these two paintings of clowns, for some reason, next to our bunk beds when my brother and I were much younger. One day we took them both down, put them facing the wall, so we can sleep in peace. Come morning time, the clowns were back in the wall. We were so freaked out we never touched those paintings or talked about it again until like maybe 15 years later. We were discussing it with our mom and she recalled she happened to put them up before we woke up. Choose the room decor wisely, parents. That the universe is infinite and there could be billions of other living organisms that all know about us and have significantly better technology and could wipe us out at any moment, but choose to leave us be because they know that we don't know about them. Kinda like some indigenous tribes that live secluded and don't know that we are this civilized and technologically advanced. Sometime in the future, if we don't disappear before, humans will probably be able to bioengineer themselves to avoid death by old age. Most probably only the richest people will get this. founding an immortal elite of dynasties that will be able to rule nations by themselves, while common people simply keep dying as always. Now almost everyone think of death as something normal and inevitable, as part of our nature. But then, in that hypothetical future, death will be seen like a disease which it's kept away from common people by that ruling elite. Philosophical zombies. Theory that a good portion of the human race lack conscious experience. If you have ever dissociated or done something and don't recall, driven home but have no recollection, your brain acting on autopilot, that's what they are like. They do everything required to be human. They ape emotions, go through life. They just lack sentience. There is a theory which states that if ever anyone discovers exactly what the universe is for and why it is here, it will instantly disappear and be replaced by something even more bizarre and inexplicable. There is another theory which states that this has already happened. Douglas Adams. I'm not sure if that theory is connected to the one which talks about the apocalypse happening when someone calls God by his real name. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.